Welcome everyone to our healing meditation that's entitled Power versus Force. Essentially, be a warrior, not a worrier. First things first, we're just gonna relax and breathe. Just let the day release any tension, just leave your brain. Good feeling, attracting the healing. Beautiful resonance. Aligning with all that is. Just surrendering to this moment. No overlays. No projection. Just the joie de vivre, just the bliss of being. So good just to be. So we breathe, just feel that. This is a doing culture. So we just want to practice being as kind of a counterweight to the doing culture. So we're going to undo a little bit more today. Maybe a little bit of redo, rebooting. Just going to allow that void space that is at the center of our being, that is filled with infinite potential. That void space, just feel that. Emptying out, releasing, relaxing, restoring, rejuvenating. Deliciously empty. Emptying, releasing, relaxing. Restoring, rejuvenating, breathing. As we breathe, we essentially alkalinize. We start to release ourselves from these lower pressures, rising up into more subtle energy. Powered by love, so great. Joy center. Powering the show, just basking in the glow, just feeling this incredible feeling in the heart. It's mightier than anything else in your body. It's a 50,000 femtotesla field, just blasting out. Incredible radiant force. We keep thinking we have to do all this stuff with the brain. And the brain is great, but the heart is so expandable, so infinite, so divine. So let's just park there for a minute. Softening. In a world that seems to be increasingly upset, we want to pull the opposite direction. Right? We want to pull it into peace, anchor, ground, aligning. Think, oh, maybe we can go out with a megaphone and change reality, but it's probably a more profound effect if we just sit still and say the stillness clears the illness. We're just going to sit still for a minute. Delicious stillness. Just feeling your posture. Relaxing your neck and shoulders, floating your head, doesn't weigh anything, it's a 20-pound bowling ball. You just kind of want to find where it's that perfect place of balance. You can tilt the chin forward a little bit. It brings the energy to the top of the head, takes it out of the prefrontals, allows us to think less ultimately. So as we relax the forehead, relaxing area 25, serotonin uploader station, it provides dopamine and serotonin for if you might be freaking out or have some kind of post-traumatic stress, like that's sending a signal down, trying to, some upsetting thought. We want to power up with a little more dopamine, a little more serotonin. How do we do that? Meditation creates fabulous brain chemicals. You could not buy these in a store. We incubate them, we generate them. They come from within, anandamides, beautiful neuropeptides, the mind-body connection, dropping into peace. Emptying. And we park for a while, we catch up to the moment. The past is less relevant. The future is not necessary right now. Power exists right here in this moment. This point of power. As you anchor into that point of power, we become more aware, more present. We choose to stand straight and tall. We choose to be authentic, make all these choices for better feelings. Just feeling how power comes from stillness, comes from this harmony that we feel, this inner meaning, this alignment to ground. The stillness creates appreciation for everything, and then harmony is there. Just kind of bask in your own glow. Radiant feeling coming up. It's like the past is full of addiction and affliction and all those kind of words that rhyme together. But we want to add these 8s, right? To meditate, activate, calibrate, radiate. 8 is a powerful number. Buddha instructed the 8-fold path. The Yoga Sutras, essentially, Ashtanga means 8-limbed, right? Something magical about 8. A beautiful infinity. Just feel that infinite feeling. Create, meditate, activate, calibrate, necessitate, radiate. Breathing. Using the breath as a kind of bellows to pump us back up to a more alkaline state. Pressure and pain are the result of dropping into lower pressure grid, more acid-based situation, generates disease. So we want to levitate from that point of view. We want to bring that pressure grid up higher to the perfect pressure of water. Beautiful alkaline. We lift into that lighter air, more celestial feeling. And as you breathe, literally you're sort of pumping yourself up. So let's do a few breaths through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. The slower the better, actually. So here we go. Just kind of clears the air, relaxes the brain again. We'll just do 3 of these, one more. Exhalation through the mouth. And then just feel how warmth moves through the body. It activates the kundalini a little bit if that's happening. You can feel heat beginning to ignite, and we're intending this. So I'm feeling this Kundalini feeling, so we're beaming it out, sending it out. Let that Udana prana come up the spine. It's like seeking the goddess, right? Or it is the goddess actually seeking itself in the form of the void space of Shiva at the top. Emerge back into all of creation, and this journey up the spine is our hero's journey. So we breathe. And just become aware of your spine for the next minute. What's happening in your spine? In this, it's like this tree, axis mundi. This connection to the Sky Father. Softening the face, relaxing cheeks, forehead, jaw, eyeballs, neck, shoulders, relaxing brain. Kind of like a muddy pond. We just kind of want to let the mud settle. Right? All these vrittis, they're called in India, agitations of the mind, or we'll just let them all settle down. It takes a while. It's kind of like you're driving along in third gear, and you think you're still in third gear, and all of a sudden, into this deep space you go. It happens by itself. You prepare for it. It will just happen on its own accord. Meditation will find you. You can prepare for it. It's like allowing meditation. No force. That's really the subject today, this power versus force. Being a warrior, not a worrier. Force comes from, as I mentioned yesterday, self-doubt, weakness. You think the universe isn't safe, you have to control it, you don't trust it. I would suggest real power comes from recognizing the universe is smarter than us. It might not always look like it, but it really is profoundly connected and self-organizing, divinely perfect. It's hard to convince some people of that when they look around and bad things happen to people. But the laws of karma are what they are. It's still a miraculous universe. No need to force anything. And when we say that, we can just relax the shoulders even more. Just a little more surrender. If you're really worried about outcomes, whatever they might be, so we're just gonna go to that neutral place. Beautiful neutral place. So it doesn't matter if this happens or that happens. Let God take care of that, right? Let tomorrow take care of itself. It's like right now, holding the space for peace will bring you the greatest outcomes for yourself. And by injecting more nutrients into the world, we benefit everyone with our meditation. So the next 20 seconds, a nutrient delivery system. This one is for everyone, right? We're just going to give a beautiful meditation to the world. Keep what you want, but in this moment, nutrients for the world, harvest for the world. Wow. Oxygenating, radiating, elevating, levitating, meditating, calibrating. Magic eights. There's 8 octaves of creation in the body. Each octave has 8 elements. It's a 64 pressure-based system. Let's see, right now we're going to go up to the hydrogen above the head. 2 octaves of delicious hydrogen. Infinite hydrogen. Relaxes the brain. Just the idea of all this space, infinite oceanic space. The mind expands. When your mind expands, it's good for the glands. You feel better. The blood spirals clockwise. Your breath begins to stabilize. When the breath stabilizes, the mind is still. Can't argue with that. 72 million nadis in the body. These are mini energy rivers, are purified. And so if you're sitting and you're agitated and you just can't get unagitated, remember that there's a purification process in yoga and meditation. It's working you, it's cooking you. The word in India for cooked is siddha. And that's what they call folks who are cooked. When you're a yogi and you're cooked, you're a siddha, right? That siddha nature allows you to sort of bask in the glow of the infinite. And the universe comes and sweeps your courtyard for you. You don't have to do anything. You just get to be the viewer. Universe is the doer. Oh, how awesome is that, right? So the supreme observer place that also has power, right? As we talked about yesterday, the Spanda principle. We're not just a witness, silent witness with no connection. Even though the self is transcendental, it seems to radiate into creation. And so we radiate into creation and breathe. So this, let's say that's the warrior, right? That's the part of you that is unafraid, not fear-driven part, love-driven. All the crazy stuff in this world is fear-driven, right? It's all protection and everybody's protecting their space. But if your space is full and fabulous, you can spill out and deliver the space. And so, whoever's meditating here with us right now, or just as a group, I'm just going to giant lotus emanation of sublime particles. Send that love out to the world. Specific people in mind, you're healing them. I'll tell you a quick story. It happened yesterday. A friend of mine in client in New Jersey called me up and wanted to do a healing session for a friend of hers mom who I worked on before. And the mom didn't know quite when we were going to be working on it. I don't think she even knew we were working on her, actually. This was the daughter's idea. And so we worked for half an hour, and the intuition was to work from the ground up, right? That seemed to be where the weakness was. And then I get this text today saying, whoa, and it's a screenshot of this conversation between the daughter and the mother, where the mother's saying, wow, all of a sudden I'm walking like I used to, and I even went out to the mailbox to see if that would last, because I knew you'd kill me if you found out. I didn't tell you, and it was fine. My legs are fine. And so there's an interesting situation. Half an hour of work, loving someone up, feeling where the weaknesses were. In this case, they felt in the yang part of the body, in the legs. And there were other things we worked on, but it was mostly kind of from the bottom up. And then I didn't have any instructions really about the situation except that was the feeling. And so this is what we're capable of if we tune in to subtle energy, right? Subtle energy will guide you if we listen properly. If we empty ourselves, it's kind of like we become a giant retina scan, right? Whatever the impression is coming in just sort of retinifies itself right into our being. We can get the broadcast signal, right? We can get what the person is, where they're at if we tune into them. So that's remote healing. I do this a lot because there's so many people that don't believe this stuff, but they have family and friends who are majorly into this. And so it might be like, can you help my grandmother in Pakistan? It's like, okay, just say her name and we're sending to her, bringing her on the screen. And where there's something's not right, you work it. Right? There's so many ways to do that. And it really ultimately depends on your skill, right? Yoga is sort of skill in action. When you do something a lot, you get better and better. So you can practice this, right? You can practice on your cat. So let's say healing is projectable. If it's the whole world we're trying to heal, it's kind of almost feels a little fruitless. So it's better to target, I find. So maybe find something that you feel in this world needs improvement. Not that we're going to bash somebody or take someone out, right? It's not voodoo. Even if they've done bad things, love them more for your mind, right? That's the teachings of the saints. Forgiveness is for you, right? You let go of the negative, you feel better, even if this person is unforgivable. So we radiate out the good feeling. And keep breathing. In a sense, the warrior in this case is you being the shaman, right? You being the love instigator warrior. And why shamanism? Well, it seems that neo-shamanism is what's happening, right? These ancient wisdom, ancient teachings have come back into vogue. They always worked. We just forgot. The future seems to be crunching in because there doesn't seem to be much of one. And so there's so much information right now in the meditative zone, right? If you really sit and listen in, it's sort of like, you know, the FBI, they talk about chatter, right? We're listening to the terrorists, there's a lot of chatter. So where there's a lot of chatter going on, it's not just terrorists or whatever, it's shamanic transformation is how I would classify it. There's kind of a dismemberment going on. What do shamans do? At least in the ancient cultures, they're renowned for taking your reality apart and putting it back together better. It's like cleaning out the station wagon. Take everything out and just put the right stuff back in and you're reassembled. So anytime you meditate, you could say that that's happening, right? You're kind of like getting rid of the dross and like cleaning and refreshing. Then you go forth all fresh. So shamanism is based on cycles and regenerative energy. Shamans tend to dip into the next world and pull in the medicine. In this case, we don't really need to go to the next world for the medicine right now. The medicine's just streaming out of the heart. Shaboom, right? 50,000 femtoteslas. We're getting plenty of extraterrestrial help, perhaps, or inner world help, this inner screen full of these subtle energy universes that we don't always notice or see, but this is the testament of the saints that what is inside us is way more profound than what is outside. There's actually way more of it too. So check in with that, noticing what's going on. Infinite potential is there. Just feel the downloads coming in. Infinite potential. So the download I just got was, it would be the metaphor of the post office. It's sort of like 3D, right? Communication on this level is very slow, especially when politics gets involved, even slower. But if you drop inside, right, your instantaneous transmission need not deal with 3D obstacles. And it's the same with digital, right? Digital is so much faster. We have this new model. Essentially, the body has kind of a digital capacity. We're analog soul beings, and yet the body has this off and on, open, close, weak, strong capacity to kind of blink. The universe seems to be blinking on and off, according to physicists. And speaking of which, let's take that moment to check in with Planck's constant. This Planck's moment. It's the smallest unit of time that scientists have come up with. What's so interesting about that is that all the laws of time and space kind of break down in the Planck's constant, in the Planck moment. What would be an example? Let's say a pendulum. Right, so the pendulum swings, reaches its point, where just for a microsecond, it stopped before it comes home, right? It goes to the other side. That little moment, yogis just love that, right? It's the space between the breaths, the space between the thoughts. What is this space? And so that moment where time is suspended, this instantaneous moment between going and coming, point of tuning into that is there's infinite possibility, infinite universes. You can create the future however you want from that moment, right? It just splits out into infinite possibilities. So let's tune into the Planck's moment here. Like, you can't be in the future, the past, in this moment. Let's just really focus. Here we are, right now, catching up to this moment. Breathing. Infinite possibility. Force is not spiritually derived, right? Force comes from fear, from the brain, from a clutching, a stiffness, an aggressiveness. And so we melt into love, into that gentleness, no force necessary, friction-free, addiction-free. If there's limitations, they're useful. The whole physical world is a limitation. But you use that as sort of the backboard to spring into infinity with. Infinity is arising in our heart. It has a kind of fragrance almost. Right? Rumi writes about all kinds of experiences of infinity. I'll tell you a little story that happened. A friend of mine in Maine lived in a farmhouse, and there were spirits in the house that were bothering him. He would walk through the door, and he'd feel like there was this oppressive energy just mad at him for some reason. Like this spirit wanted something from him. And he was pretty freaked out and jumped in his car and drove away and called me up and said, "No, you got to get this spirit out of the farm. This is really, I'm just like going nuts here." I said, "Well, where do you want to meet?" And he said, "Well, over by the lake." So we went over to the lake, it was about 2 miles from his farmhouse. And we did sort of the power versus force, right? We're going into the power of not forcing the spirit out of the house, but kind of requesting, kind of suggesting, like, wouldn't it be great, spirit, if, like, how about you take Club Med here, we'll get you some ticks. you can fly somewhere and have a great old somewhere else life. Well, right around that moment, 13 crows, black birds, come flying over. A murder of crows flies overhead, literally right over us. And my friend is like, whoa, they're coming right from the direction of his house. And we kind of listened in, and the download was, the word from the bird, the downloads from the crows, was that there was a stove in the barn in this house, some kind of iron thing that was blocking something. It was on some kind of portal that needed to be released, that was keeping the spirit stuck. So after the crows flew over, my friend felt a lot better. I said, I don't know, something feels different. The instruction seems to be to go over to the house and move the stove. So we went over back to the house, went into the garage, and sure enough, in this barn garage, there was a stove. We pulled it out, this metal thing, and then we heard this boom. We looked into the back, and there was this, it was a Prada catalog box. You know, this kind of look record album size cover thing. And it had this surly looking character, kind of black and white pictures, looking a little dark. And we kind of got the feeling that this dude had just checked out, that we had just, by pulling this metal away from the portal, whatever happened, we released him, because it really felt like he was gone. My friend was thrilled. And my friend is also Santa Daime, the ayahuasca resonator, and he, I guess, did some ayahuasca that night and tuned into the other two spirits, or the children of the spirit that were still lurking or hanging out, not knowing what was going on. And he sent them on their way to be with their father. And since then, that farmhouse has been clear. So power, very interesting in that regard, right? Like, you can't force stuff, but the power is, I think the best way to put it is, you can love it up, right? You can love the solution. And then if it requires someone has to leave, something has to change, then that will probably unfold more with less violence or less stress. If the love wave is really the most informative. So let's just breathe. You might have spirits in your house. You might have spirits where you work. There might be spirits in the land. I would say spirits are not bad. There's gazillions of spirits everywhere. The problem is if you're conducting negative charge and you're starting to pull these entities in some kind of, I don't know, they're sucking your energy kind of deal. But the best counter for that, again, as I always suggest, is meditation, because you're liberating yourself in a way that whatever the spirit's like, that husk is coming off and departing, right? So there's nothing there for the spirits, right? You're radiating something. Their negative particles are attracting negative charge. And so they're gone. Now we're just gonna drop back in. I need to reclaim my voice, find my voice again here. Excuse me. I'm gonna invite you to meditate for a second. I'll be right back. for all sticking around. I talk for a living. Spend a lot of time on the phone. Many hours a day. So I'm just going to give my voice a rest for a minute. Let's do this. Maybe that's sort of the signal to shift into something I've been planning, which is a little ceremony. And since we brought up all these spirits, this would be a good opportunity to clear any spirits that might be bothering you. Hear that?
Them spirits are rumbling and making funny noises.
Okay, so I've got my didgeridoo. Got my Hopi rattle, blessed by my Hopi friend. Turn off the zither. Trains are coming in. Light a little sage. I know you can't smell this, but you might know what white sage smells like. It grows in Santa Barbara up in the hills. So beautiful. It's very purifying. So we're just going to bless you. Blessings. Clearing any entities, people who are bothering you, old boyfriends or girlfriends who are hassling you, bosses who are toxic, whatever it is. We want to just delete the demons. Oh. There's a very special song. It's called the Earth Healing Song. It's written by Charles Tom, who is a Kuruk Indian. He passed away 2 years ago from Mount Shasta. And Montino Bourbon and I have we have permission to sing this song from Charles Tom himself, and you might want to learn this. I'll play the melody version and then I'll sing it. Hey ya hey, hey ya hey, hey ya, ya hey ya, hey ya hey, hey ya hey, hey ya, ya hey ya, hey ya hey ya, hey ya hey ya, hey ya hey ya, hey ya hey ya. Hey ya hey ya hey ya hey hey ya ya hey ya hey hey ya hey hey ya hey ya hey hey ya hey hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya hey ya, ya, hey ya! Oh. notice how it's possible that your field might have gotten stronger than your body. Normally when you begin meditating, you're lots of body, right? It's like, oh, my body, oh, poor me. And your energy field might feel a little depleted. But do what we've been doing for the last hour with the blessings, the shamanic sounds. It really does fluff up the field. I know I'm feeling it. I hope you're feeling that. And just feel how you kind of go a little further out. All right? There's less contraction in the field. There's more expansion. Just ride with that for a minute, because it's still expanding. All right? We did some spiritual practice there together. The ceremony came along right when it wanted to. Hey, be quiet, Sudama, we'll just gag you. You can swear. Okay. I'm listening. There's a certain personality type out there that's really stiff. And we all know these folks, right? They're like the people that play by all the rules.
You don't play by the rules.
Right? Well, what is that exactly? To me, that's more in the force department, right? That's not trust and spiritual resonance. That's some kind of control. So then just quickly notice, where are you at in this moment with that kind of behavior, right? Do you need to, control something? Or is it like, whoa, you can just relax brain. Hop on the train. Right? Go for a ride. Abide inside. Beautiful feeling. In a sense, it's so easy. And yet, the karmic afflictions make it so hard. Right? How often do you get to show up in this kind of beautiful resonance? Because you have to work at it. Right? It's not always available unless we work the field. I am feeling this instrument coming in. What I love about the sitar is very spacious. Really all you need is a note or two. We live in a kind of manic culture. Everything's going so fast. It's really important to do the opposite. Healing is usually the opposite of whatever the problem is. And I would say that's just such a basic law. Right? If your head's spinning around, you got to ground your feet. How's everybody doing? If you feel like typing anything, I don't always just say this and check in, but I feel like this right now. Just kind of, hi guys. Let me know if you're there. I can see you, sort of. Just basking in the good feeling from the meditation. An inside out glow. Made out of light we are. I'm just gotta drop out of the brain and feel that. My advisor is counseling me to. No, she's saying, don't tell them. No, it's just a little reminder about YouTube. I've got, I think it's 16 meditations up now. There's going to be 4 more coming in from the last 2 weeks. So you can enjoy those. Send them around to people. There's a lot of information, as you know. Every time is a little different. Every time we're just kind of listening in and seeing what's going on. What are we feeling? What can we do for the world? How can we best find that beautiful place to beam out from? It's not easy to find that place. Let's drop in one more time, just make that connection. There's a lot of sadness out there, right? Sometimes it helps the meditation in a strange way. There's something introverted about the sadness. It's like when you're tired, you can sometimes meditate even better. And if you're kind of manic and pumped up, right, that might be better candidate for a walking meditation or going for a run. But when we're feeling kind of grief or sadness, it opens the heart, right? It drops us in a little deeper. So we're just taking a moment, just kind of resonating with all the pain out there. Not so that we can feel more painful, but we can acknowledge it, kind of give back to it, hold the space for it. And then ultimately kind of transcend it as a result. It's like the storm is there and you're kind of going underneath the waves, right? Getting underneath it. But I would definitely say, given the astrology, that the more you meditate this month, I know I just closed my eyes for a few minutes, at other times, and it's, wow, what comes through is so profound, right? You literally have to have a pen and paper ready. It's just like chock-a-block, full of goodies. So the action is on the inside, right? It's just kind of crazy on the outside. But that's the dismemberment. That's the shamanic coming apart that is, I would suggest, is necessary for it to come back together in the better form. And if we notice this, we're speaking about the number 8 today. These are 80-year cycles. Why 80 years? Probably it's the length of a human life, right? When that life is done, we need a new cycle, right? So for 80 years, those 4 generations do their thing, the pressure builds up, and there's not really room or space for the next generation at that point, right? If you look around, what are these kids doing right now? Like, none of them have jobs hardly, right? They're really sensitive, advanced beings, and the culture is completely not, available in some way for them, at least the way it used to be. So you could suggest that it's requiring an entirely new development, right? It's calling in an Aquarian age, something different, right? Something more expansive. And we know that, speaking of 80, that the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions happen every 20 years, and you have 4 of them in at least up till now in the Earth sign, and now we're moving into 4 of these conjunctions the next 80 years in air sign. So, what, space age, right? Aquarian age, everything's expanding, less dense. So we can look forward to that, right? This period of time right now where everything's being turned on its head. This too will pass, right? And so we're going to look forward to the next cycle. It's probably going to be unbelievable. Actually, even though it looks like everything's going bad, I think the new 0-point energy is coming in. We'll be able to make better use of Schumann resonance waves for, if you want flying cars, you won't need, EMF, high radiation. You can use more natural fields. And so I would say, start thinking positive about the future, because that's going to help everyone. And I truly believe that it's going to be a positive future. It's just, we have to get underneath some of these strange things that are happening. So, namaste, everyone. Have a beautiful evening. See you next week. Namaste.